break around 10 local time, and then we will return to carry on with our guest talks until 11. After our guest talks have concluded, I will have a section to answer relevant questions coming from our attendees and also online. On your table, we'll make sure that you have some cards to write all your questions so we can take note of them. Once we concluded our talks, the broadcasting will end and all of our attendees will be sorted in groups. So as you can see, you have a name tag with a different color. So we'll be sorting you in groups so we are able to do networking and also follow COVID protocols. So as I was saying, I'm extremely happy and honored to have the opportunity to present our guest speakers today, as well as to introduce the topic of women in transport. Today, roads dominate transport sector in most parts of Africa, covering up to 90% of passenger and freight traffic. This means that road transport and logistics are key enablers for economic development and prosperity. Most of us may have not yet realized the role of transport plays in our lives. But when the pandemic struck, we were reminded of how essential transportation is to connect individuals, businesses, and governments. So, take for example one of the most used tactics in war is to break the enemy's supply lines to undermine the enemy's ability to fight. So it is it's well known that famine makes greater havoc in army than the enemy, making broken communications more harmful than a sword. Sun Tzu, one of my favorite authors that wrote about leadership, said that knowledge that does not go beyond what generals know is not good, meaning that if a mission is not understood at all levels of an organization, then it is not good. So this is why we're all here today, not only to celebrate the women that have made a successful career in the transport sector, but also to share their motivation with other women to take part in the transport industry at any level to build key initiatives. We made it our commitment and part of our priorities for many years to come, to open a forum of discussion, to learn how our colleagues in the professional field have offered valuable skills in the transport industry, because as one of my old colleagues say, one cannot aspire to become if you don't know what exists. We are currently integrating women in our workforce at all levels, so they are able to participate actively to offer their own set of skills. And so with further ado, please let me welcome our founder and managing director of TMI's Innovation Solutions and Drivio, Mr. Tilash Murthy, that we have in the class. Thank you.
Good morning, ladies and some gentlemen. It's nice to have you here. But I think TMI Simulation Solutions and Drivio would really like to welcome all of you who took the time out to come here today and share an opportunity with us to marvel and offer our respect for the women in transport. You know, transport is not an easy game, and it's a tough business. And the women that have stood up to that courage, thank you, because a lot of you bring sanity to the game. Otherwise, it would be total chaos if it was left to men to operate and run. But yeah, I think it's the first time I've been at an event like this, whether I'll be hosting it or not. But the opportunity for me is the prestigiousness of it, but yet the simplicity on the message that we're trying to say. It's road safety in our country is a challenge. The transport sector is in shambles, and we need everybody to work together to try and solve this problem, right? So I thought, how do I approach you? How do I speak to you? And I said to myself, maybe I should take this opportunity to honor the women in my life that made me the type of person I am. And there were many of them, to be honest. The first one was my mother, who had a wonderful life in South Africa, uprooted her whole family and moved to Australia. And this happened during the Gulf War. There were no jobs in Australia. There was uh, gross changes in the Australian government, and she was forced to work night shifts as a cleaner. And this was crazy because my father built most of Belito. He built Newlands East. He built Phoenix. Most of those houses in those areas, my dad was the building contractor in part of a consortium that built them. And then we go to Australia. He was jobless. She was jobless. She only went to standard 8 in South Africa because she lost her father at a very young age. And so she got married at the age of 18. She had me at 20. And she started working in Australia, which was crazy. But she did a brilliant job. She started as a cleaner at night and ended up owning the factory. Just by persevering and hard work, and I suppose it was the support from us as well. And today she lives a wonderful life in Australia. She really enjoys it immensely. I think I always say she's the princess of Melbourne because she knows everybody. She's in every community gathering. She's the chairman of the Hindu Society of Melbourne. She's the chairman of the ladies, what's this groups that ladies have where they go out and just have an opportunity to have fun and eat and drink and stuff. But they say they networking and drink social upliftment. She's part of all those things. But yeah, so that was my mom, and she really helped me along in good ways. But then after her, there was several others. And one woman that stands out to me was a lady by the name of Eva Soderstrom from Sweden. She was a small little lady, and when I say small, very dynamic, very small, but she was a dynamite. She literally ran the South African program for the defense acquisition between South Africa and Sweden. And she was up against all these soldiers and armies and Air Force pilots and generals that were trying to tell Sweden how they must build an aircraft to supply it to South Africa, and she stood her ground. And one day she came to me and she says, Tavesh, you work so hard, you do so well. Why don't you go start a company? And I'll support you. I'll tell Saab that they must give you some work and try and see how it goes. Because I'm tired of these guys trying to tell me what to do, but at the end of the day, they're not doing anything. I'm the one who's working my ass off, sorry for the language, but working hard here, and nobody's actually implementing. So that's how I started TMI Simulation Solutions. She gave me the platform, I took it, and basically our first client was Saab Aerosystems, second client was BAE Systems, and that's how we continued on. And then, the challenge we had in South Africa in 2009, and I don't want to talk about it, but we went through a major change in our government, and things started changing everywhere. And my colleague on the right there, Martin, and I one day were chatting, and he happened to watch news the night before, and so did I. And it was about a story of how the new Minister of Transport would like to see every matriculant graduate with a driver's license in the one hand and a matric exemption in the other hand. And Wouter was there, which was myself, Martin, and we were sitting down and we were thinking about it. And he says, what, this guy will never be able to do it without simulators. And not knowing anybody, not being political, I picked up the phone, I phoned the Department of Transport switchboard, and I said, what, I'd like to speak to somebody in doing this driver training thing. And eventually I got to the director of road safety and he called me into a meeting and there were two females in the meeting and himself and myself and another colleague who helped me carry all the stuff. So we went to game a few days before that and bought like these gaming controllers for steering wheel, pedals and stuff. And we literally went out there and put it on the table in the minister's boardroom, set up a screen and stuff. And we said, you know, if you want to teach people how to drive, you're going to teach every single 18-year-old how to drive. You got to use simulation. And this is how you do it. And they looked at us and the two ladies didn't say a word. They just kept quiet. And they actually got us on the road to start up Drivio because they supported us in a lot of initiatives to get going. And it was amazing. And then we managed to be fortunate enough to meet a professor, Dr. Karen Myers, who then introduced us to like the banking sector, Standard Bank, and all these great people like Eric Parker, who was a founder of the franchising industry in South Africa. I mean, he's one of the greatest franchisors and franchise consulting companies. And they put us on the road to start up Drivio. And you know, we were happy, and I was very happy. And me being the lazy person that I am, I'm quite contented and in a comfort zone most of the time. Not because of money, just because I like to be alone, but I talk a lot. That's unfortunate. But anyway, you know, we were plodding along, and then in June or May, June last year, this young lady comes to me and she says, you know what, I'd like to transform your business. And I said, what do you mean? She says, no, you know, you guys got so much potential, but you're not doing things the right way. You're not doing it like this and stuff. And I said, okay, what are you going to do? So she says, can I write you a transformational plan? So I took this plan, I looked at it, and I said, I've been doing this for 15 years. How is this person going to try and transform our business in 18 months? And I thought to myself, let me just keep quiet. I sat on it, I thought about it. And in August, I invited my two colleagues, Walter and Anton, and I said, let's meet this lady. And let's see what she's going to offer us in terms of transforming our business into a global player in simulation and training. And so they joined me in the meeting and they sat and they listened to her. And around about September, we contracted her and we said, okay, we'll give you the opportunity. We got until November 2019 and let's see how it, 2021, sorry, 2021. Let's see how it goes, right? And so she started off quietly in a corner, working away, developing her plans and stuff like that. And then in April, she said to us she wants to do a maritime webinar for the international market. And we said, how are you going to do this? She said, okay, this is the plan. Got some people around her. And then we hosted one of the most successful global maritime webinars where we had people from all over the world, from east right up to the west, people from just kind of Fiji right to, I think, Hawaii on the other side, but lots of people participated. And then we started realizing that things are changing in this world. People are seeing things very differently. And today, the same person, single-handedly, I must admit, with the support of Anton and a few Walter and a few other colleagues, is pulling this event off. And for that, I'd like to thank her and tell her how proud we are of her and grateful for what she's done. And also, we will support her on her journey, which ends very soon in 2021. But I think she's put us on the right trajectory. And we're proud of her for that. So, Mariana, thank you very much for today. And we really appreciate it. And we really look at first time for me. So I'm looking forward to this video. Okay.
Thank you. Okay, so thank you so much. So it's my time to introduce Petrol Crooker. She is a co-founder of the Road Safety Foundation, and she has headed up the Public and International Affairs Division from 2001, 2000, and later rolled out several road safety divisions in South Africa and the rest of Africa. She has a great experience in FIA, and WHO, on several safety road programs. Please let's give her a hand, Petra.
You can talk. You sit behind a desk all the time. You never see what happens out on the road. And don't accept that I joined Philip Hall and his team of paramedics. I'm from here in the staff, and I worked there for 10 years. Every Easter weekend, every December holiday, we provided assistance at road accidents on that piece of road. Why Van Riemen's Pass is it's actually a 60-kilometre section of road between Harrismith and Ladysmith where there are no ambulance, where there's no ambulance assistance. And Van Riemen is also on the border between the Free State and KwaZulu-Natal. So for provincial ambulances to assist there, they come up to the border, and if the accident is 100 meters into the other province, they can't assist. So we've reached that gap, and Philip, kudos to him, he's been in there for almost 40 years, and still part of a group of volunteers, accepting no payment for it. But let me talk about women in transport, and specifically women in road safety. And as we all know, gender equality is basic human right. Now, I'm not a great feminist, it's just the reality of things as they are. And the gender gap in road safety is bigger than we imagine. More than twice as many men as women have driver's licenses, and that's an international statistic, not just South Africa. Vehicle ownership internationally is male dominated. And a number of studies have shown that insecure transport facilities and infrastructure actually contain or constrain women's lives. So fewer access to social development opportunities, less access to education, and that needs to change. Without safe and secure travel options, women simply can't take advantage of the economic and social opportunities that there are. If we look at specifically at road safety, and it's international studies that have been done by the National Highway Traffic Safety Authority in America, by the World Health Organization, and the European Union. They show that women have a 47% higher risk of injury in a crash than men, and 5 times higher risk of whiplash injuries. And the reason for this is that cars are developed by men for men. No studies have been done on how a car crash affects a woman specifically. And this has led to a higher number of accidents where women are seriously injured, and a 70% more likely of being killed in a crash than men are. Sweden have developed female crash test dummies, but these are used mainly with women as a passenger, so not behind the steering wheel, and they're very seldom used. They're used in about 2 to 4% of the crash test simulations in the world. So that definitely needs to change. And this is just an illustration done by the National Highway Traffic Association of injury vulnerability. And these are statistics that are not shared normally. I mean, that I've been involved in road safety for more than 20 years, and this is the first time that I see this kind of analysis being done. 22.1% more vulnerable or higher risk for women than men in head injuries. And this is women as drivers or passengers or rear seat passengers. Neck injuries, almost 50% higher risk. And you can look at these, and it's apparent and it's clear from this that the women as occupants and women as drivers in vehicles are not protected. Okay, not to be controversial, but who are the safer road users, men or women? Insurance studies have actually shown that women are safer drivers than men are. And the reason for this is that we often drive with our children in the vehicle. So we change our behavior to accommodate our loved ones. Men often drive alone in their vehicles or with their friends, which creates extra peer pressure. And they tend to drive faster at higher speed, drive more risky, and have less regard for the traffic law. In saying this, in South Africa, over the past 3 years, 112% more women than men have obtained their driver's licenses. And we're seeing the behavior on the roads by women change. In our, I don't know whether it's endeavor to gain equality, we've seen more riskier behavior from women on the roads as well. We've had more arrests for women driving under the influence of alcohol. We've had more arrests for women driving unsafely at higher speed. So I think that we need to be careful in gaining our equality to men, that we don't change our behavior on the road, that we maintain our risk awareness when we are driving as women. Okay, so where to from here? What concerns me is that all the information that I was able to get on women in road safety was international. We need to focus on South Africa because, as we know, we have a unique structure in South Africa in terms of pedestrian use. We have a much higher number of pedestrians than we have elsewhere in the world. We have women driving in public transport vehicles, so women as passengers. It's interesting that part of the study showed that women are not trained passengers as frequently as men are. I think it's because of the high risk and the dangers that are faced in our train transport industry at the moment. So we've got more women as bus passengers as well. And we need complete data in South Africa to better understand our unique challenges that we face to change the road safety situation in South Africa at the moment. I don't know whether you're aware of it, but at the moment the statistics show that about 45 people are killed on our roads every day. It's about 15,000 per year. And we need to investigate why this is happening. And it's been the situation since I've been involved in road safety for the past 20 years. We've looked at figures of between 20 and 15,000 people per year being killed. Just to put this in perspective, in the whole of Australia, in the last statistic I had was 2018, 1,400 people were killed on the roads. In December of that year, we killed as many people. So in 1 month, we killed as many people as Australia killed in a year. Sorry. Another slide. Okay, sorry, the last slide is missing. Just in getting women involved in road safety and the improvement of road safety. Women as engineers have a huge opportunity in South Africa. When women study to become engineers, we tend to follow up or continue the path set by the predecessors who were male. We need to look at how do we design roads that are safe for all road users. Now, with the high number of pedestrians, do we create extra pedestrian facilities to ensure that they are separate from the road, that our pedestrians don't have to walk on the road surface, the same surface as the cars are using? Do we actually get involved in the design of vehicles and look what we can change there to make it safer for women? And I think when we, as women, put our minds together, we can come up with a solution. And I'm urging everyone that's involved to do that sooner rather than later, so we can change the road safety situation in South Africa. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Lisa. Now I'm going to welcome Cindy Schonberg. She is a senior lecturer for the Road Traffic Management Corporation College. Her lectures on new qualifications and new traffic officers occurs nationally, and she is in charge of the project management for road safety, examiners for driving licenses, and also traffic orientation models and other legislations. So please let's welcome Cindy. can hold the microphone for you.
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Oh, yes, I'm so excited to stand here and address all the beautiful ladies. I didn't say the gentlemen are ugly. So what I want to say today, I'm so excited about the speaker that just presented now. It touched my heart because God said it's my heart. As they explained, my name is Cindy Shomwe. I'm from RTMC, Road Traffic Training Academy. I'm currently acting as a manager. Yes, I was a senior lecturer. Currently, I'm acting as a manager, and I'm appointed as a manager after acting. Before I start to that slide, I will just say something to say you don't just live as a woman and work only, you become something in road traffic or in a traffic fraternity. It needs a lot of hard working in order to be where you are. You need to be a good mentor to others, to other juniors under you, because you are not just a king or a queen. You have kids under you that needs to reach where you are. So you need to be a good mentor, you need to be a friend, you need to be an educator to educate people who are reporting to you if they are junior lecturers or senior lecturers or traffic officers in the fraternity. I'm short before I get to my slide. You need to be a good promoter where you must promote other women or other ladies. Don't want to take the cup always to say everything is Cindy. Other women under you as well want to be promoted through Cindy. Cindy must play a role to upgrade other women and other ladies there. Be an achiever. When you do something, I'm one person who believes on achieving. When you do a project with me, I want to win. Where's Brenda here? We are busy with after rollout. I'm the coordinator of all the 9 provinces for the after rollout, train the trainer and training all the law enforcement all over the provinces. And I see we are winning. I can give you guarantee on that one because we are strong women, okay? To motivate women, before I can tell you about this slide, I want to say, think like a queen. A queen is not afraid to fail. Failure is another stepping stone to greatness. It's true. Because a lot of women sitting down there, young ladies, young women, don't be scared to step to a new fraternity that you don't know anything. I was a teacher. Before I joined traffic fraternity, I realized that I'm wasting my time because always when I'm driving on the road, I'm pushed by the taxi drivers. Then I said, what am I going to do to own this road? Definitely. Then I said, if I was a traffic officer, I will move this taxi driver one side. When I see any reckless driver, I used to say, I wish I have all these powers. Then you know what? One day I woke up and said, I don't want to be a teacher. Let me go and train and wear the boots and hear the heat of the boots and the combat, that uniform that the police are wearing outside. Then I went to train as a traffic officer. Then when I completed my course, I felt all the powers. And I turned the country upside down. Because I was there in Metropolis, I make sure that the whole city of Tshwane is upside down. Because no one will drive reckless in front of me. Even now, no one will drive reckless in front of me. So what I'm saying, all women here, don't look any career down. Every career is very important. You are also important. Don't look yourself down, because I know as women we look each other down, or you undermine yourself to say, it's not for me. That one is not for me. It's somebody else. Thank you. So I'm in charge of managing the traffic college. We established the 21st century cadre. We've got these traffic officers, the existing one on our roads. We sat down and looked at them and said, no, we have to come with the changes here. You said people are dying on our roads. It's not only the road users. causing it. Even as law enforcement officers are caused, we are the root cause. So we said as activists, let's come with the 21st century cadre. Let's train our traffic officer for 3 years, not a 6-month course. We want to produce an officer who can stand in court with the advocate or with the prosecutor, saying, yes, this is an offense. This person is not going out, must be arrested. We want to produce officers who will tomorrow say, this car is not roadworthy. We are not moving anywhere. Thank you. We've got, let me do that. Yes. We've got actually 15 modules that we introduced to our officers. We've got 15 modules. Okay. Yes, we've got 15 modules that we introduced to train our traffic officers. We've got general orientation, apply English communication, professionalism, National Road Traffic Act, additional road traffic law enforcement, administration, the APTO. We've got other legislations, I can mention them. So, our traffic officers will go through all these 15 modules, of which the existing one didn't go through all these modules. Some of the modules we adapted them from universities, like TUT, Tshwane University of Technology. Road safety is there, my lady. Road safety is there. KM11, road safety education and road safety system is there. Because we want our country to be safe. We want our road to be safe. We've got also practical modules, which is 8 modules. It consists of 8 modules. Ensure road safety on public roads. Apply tactical survival techniques, execute law enforcement, execute advanced driving, because we are tired of our officers who rush to the scene and they become a scene. Instead of attending the scene, our traffic officers bump each other and become a scene before they reach to the scene. Okay, so we said, no, let us train also our traffic officers on advanced driving so that they can able to move or to maneuver in a wet weather or whatever condition of weather. Maintain discipline. They must be disciplined. We don't want officers who are taking bribery anymore. It's a no-no. The women says no-no. It's a what? No. It's a no-no. So we have also tactical use of firearm. Our officers will be trained thoroughly on using the firearm. We don't want to see our officer just pull the gun and shoot on innocent people. And also we don't want to see our officers die or dying because of the criminal shot him. We normally say a useless police if you are killed with your firearm by the criminals. But we don't want such police. We want a police who can, or a traffic officer who can defend himself accordingly. Examiner of vehicles for fitness. Yes, my speaker, for road safety. The officer must be able to stop a vehicle and do thorough inspection. You understand me? No more this time of the officer stop a vehicle and said, okay, just brake. Oh, I see the brake lights, now you can move. This car will cause a huge accident somewhere in Petrol Street. And it passed the officer someone in Petrol Street. Examiner of licensing. We are training our officers to become examiners of driving licenses. We are training our officers to be examiner of motor vehicles. The entire country, even overseas, can get such officer who's got all these packages. Here in South Africa, we'll produce such 21st century cadre, and our training will flow or move to other SADC countries. We are proud of that. We've got also workplace experience. Our traffic officer won't be deployed before they will be subjected to workplace experience, before they can consume their duties or start their duties. You can see the workplace experience, it will be 6 months. It's a process of regulating the flow of traffic. We are sick and tired to see traffic officers in the four-way stop. You can tell me as citizens, you are rushing to work, they are confused within the intersection. We don't know which one directing the vehicles to, isn't it? Some they're standing with WhatsApp, isn't it? So we want to change the game. We are going to change the game. I'm there to change the game as a woman. And I'm looking for other women to help me to change the game. So what is happening? They will learn how to control traffic before they are appointed as traffic officers. Workplace experience, they will go for 6 months. Process of responding to managing incidents. Our officers, existing one, still we must upskill them to understand how to manage incidents. As I said before that you attend an incident as an officer, you become an incident as well. Because you are not well trained. Okay? So our officers will write also the integrated examination after they completed all the practicals, all the 15 modules, including the practical modules. Therefore, they will qualify to be traffic officers trained for 3 years, well trained, call them 21st century cadre. We are saying, we are proud with this qualification because our officer will be fit. Our officer don't drink coke and pap. They're not eating pap. They eat healthy. Real physical training is a daily break. Our officers are subjected to physical training, including maneuvers, everything, because we want them to be fit. I'll step down for now. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Cindy. We will have our short break and we'll be back in around 5 to 10 minutes. Thank you. Okay. Thank you. We'll carry on. Um, Kathy Bell has built up expertise as a transport industry specialist since 1986. Currently, she's the head of transport solutions and asset finance. Her work at BSA and Standard Bank for more than 17 years has inculcated a passion for the transport industry, underpinned by promoting sustainability in a complex and competitive transport industry. So, Kathy, you go. Let's give her a hand. Thank you.
It is on. Thank you. So, good morning, everyone. So, in the room today, we've got a bunch of very enthusiastic persons that are keen around road safety and promoting road safety, all those marvelous things. And I guess you want me to stand here with that, yes, hey? It's not going to quite work because I'm going to walk around. Okay, so the short version is, who knows what this means? Who's seen that gorgeous sound on the trucks? Who? Put up your hands. I want to see hands. I want to see enthusiasm, participation. RTMC. Do you know that sound? Michelle Witt. Yeah, do you know that? Yes. Yeah, okay. 100%. Okay, so the road transport management system is actually a self-regulating standard, and it is promoting the change of behavior at a company level, at a driver level, at an industry level, at a sector level. And it has had fantastic, tangible outcomes. We have more than 280 companies that have adopted RTMS. We've got more than 40,000 trucks, trailers, and buses that are part of the RTMS program. So what is this RTMS thing? It's almost similar to RTMC, but it's RTMS. One is the corporation, government-owned, a lead agency for road safety. But we don't take a back seat to the lead agency. We work together. So from an industry point of view, what have we done? Let's go to the next slide. Let me show you what we've done. So that is the quick definition of what it is. But the 4 things I need you to know are safer drivers, safer loads, safer trucks, safer roads. That's what you need to know. I'm going to put this mask down because I'm going to be pointing at you and waving it all over the show. All right. So those are the 4 key things. If we look at the standard, it's a self-regulation standard. It's called SAN 3095. It is the only, the camera must not wait, self-regulating standard in the world. South African national standard, so South African national standard, it is the only standard that has been developed by industry, for industry, with the support of government to change behavior tangibly. How many case studies do you think we have? Meneer, how many do you think we have? Yeah, that's okay. I'll give you the answers, don't worry. Just say you're not sure. It's okay, I'll always give the answers. So we've got multiple case studies from operators from the very big to the very little. From Sunshine Bennett, that started with 6 scorer trucker 6 years ago, that now is over 90. Not 1990. And you know why? Because Sunshine adopted a self-regulation standard. And Sunshine history, I won't go into too much detail, it's quite interesting. He was an orphan, and he lived in Middelfields, in Mpumalanga. And the farmer said to him, come back to my backswinkel. English version, come work in my workshop. He started as a cleaner. He worked himself up to becoming a driver. But then he actually became one of the logistics specialists. He now has his own company with over 90 trucks. And Sunshine will tell you, we all have to share the road in harmony. How do you do that? That you show every person takes responsibility.
It's not RTMC's job to make sure that everybody operates in a safe way. It's their job to lead, yes. And there's the Road Traffic Enforcement Agency to enforce. Together, who is that? Who is that lady handing over the RTMC certificate? I'll tell you who that is. She's now again Deputy Minister of Transport, Sindisiwe Chakunka. So that is one of our operators, NBC Ngulula Bulk Carriers. It was the largest black-owned side tipper operation in the country. Didn't quite work out that way. That's the thing about industry and transport. Well, things change, and you have to change with it. Otherwise, things change in your own business. That is a certificate being handed over by the minister, so the Deputy Minister of Transport subscribes and supports the concept of self-regulation. Next slide. Look at the next slide. That is some of the Artemis Steelco members. We've got their industry is amongst that. We've got insurance companies, transport operators. That's all part of it. And you see that little badge we're wearing? What does it mean, the little yellow badge? You in decade of action. Okay, well the decade's been gone. We've now extended it. So when our wonderful previous woman, Minister of Transport, Duper Peters, let me tell you something about Duper Peters. She ensured that some of the most challenging legislation, the most important legislation was implemented in South Africa. The 22nd Amendment, Regulation 338D. What is that? That is around operators, consignors, consignees, being accountable for overloading and for safe vehicles. The days of the consignor saying, well, there's my load, you load it, I don't care if you overload it, not anymore. Everyone has to work together, has to pull together. And that is why Artemis is so important, because the standard provides for operators and consignors and consignees to go through and to work cohesively so that they all get tested. It's an external audit. They put up their hand, they say, test us. We are adopting a self-regulation standard. That's what's important. So, there is another example, and you see we gave that to the minister. It's a little steering wheel, because it speaks to the 3 pillars of what we're trying to do. Industry, government, operators, pulling together, making things possible, making it work. Right, next slide. Those are some of the success stories. I'm not going to delve into them, but that is a company. That's how our case studies work. Each one of our case studies has something like that. 50% reduction. There are none. There are no other case studies other than what the Artemis Steelco and the customers and the operators have put together. They can show you that
They can show you that. Real, tangible differences. That is but one. Let me go to the next slide. There is another. Oh, look who's there. My favorite Minister of Transport, Dupura Peters. See the commitment from the Department of Transport. Dupura arrived there, I think with 2 security guards and not a big entourage of media and blah, blah, blah. She just got the job done. Her focus was, boom, supporting industry to adopt self-regulation standards. To put up their hand, it costs more. But it actually costs less throughout time because you lose less drivers, you have less crashes, you have safer drivers on the road. Anyway, that is the Golden Arrow Bus Services getting their certificate from the RTMS. Do you know there's only one government department that has implemented RTMS? In the Western Cape. They used to be called the Electricity Department, they're now the Energy Department, yeah, well, they've adopted, but all the ISO standards, because they make sure that they render a service safely, reliably, taking account of all the other operators. Am I finishing? Must I finish almost? No. All right. Yeah, so you guys looking at each other. Okay. All righty. So
when we start clapping, then you
okay. Right. There is another case study. We have many. We have over 280 case studies that provide evidence that by implementing a self-regulation standard, and it's a journey, that they have reduced overloading, they've reduced crashes, less vehicles that are overloaded at the RTI. So industry checks us, we check ourselves, so do the lead agencies, so does government from an enforcement point of view. But we are saying, if there are 600,000 trucks on the road, and there are how many traffic officials? 19,000? You cannot check every truck every day. So pick the ones that look bad, like that pregnant truck we saw earlier on, terrible, overloaded, unroadworthy, not healthy. And by the way, that truck had travelled all the way from Botswana, from the border, and that was in Krugersdorp. So you're telling me it missed how many weighbridges along the way? Plenty. How many traffic officials saw? Plenty. And they waved around. Boom, go, overloaded, move, unsafe, no brakes. So there we go. So it's part of the challenge is that not everybody has got this culture of compliance. Not everybody cares. But we do as industry, we've stepped up. Okay. So I'm not going to go through everything. I just want to show you it's there, and the presentation will be on your website. You're welcome. There we go. See, I did speak about it. It's the only government that's adopted RTMS. There's not even one that's taken ISO 39001 on board. But it's been here for many moons, longer than since 395. Okay, but the big takeaway is driver behavior was changed. They even operate specialized cherry pickers. Less than 60% of the persons who are supposed to operate the cherry picker, you know, when you use the boom, 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 and it goes out and you fix the lights, less than 60% could operate it safely with training. Now they are. Go for the next slide. They're more than 90%, 92% compliance. This is just, I will not stay long, but bottom line is the green tick tells you that when they didn't have all the vehicles serviced and maintained, they're now sitting with them at almost 100%, 98, 99%. That's the journey of RTMS. You have to check. Do you have systems? Do you have protocols in place? Do you understand what vehicle replacement is? Or do you run your vehicles into the ground? Because remember, you can do that if you like, but then just don't have them on public roads. If they're not roadworthy, if they are unsafe, if a driver isn't training, if a driver isn't healthy. Next slide. Okay, so fuel consumption improved, so that's an economic benefit. Next slide. That is borrowable, so it's a little bit of a dated slide, but it's the principle. Again, you can see all of their operations went from a journey of where they didn't have all the compliance, everything in place, to the outcome. So whether it's a big company or like a Sunshine Bennett from Africa Link, same outcome. Focus is it right? Do you measure it? Can you manage it? Can you mitigate risk? And then, can you control it throughout? Yes, you can with RTMS because it's a systematic process. Every day there's a pre-trip inspection. And every day you make sure fatigue management for drivers. What are one of the leading causes of crashes? Petrol? Fatigue. Okay, at the moment it's a little bit more than fatigue. If you're on the highway at a certain time of the night, you're probably going to get a Molotov or ITZY or brick through the windscreen. Different times, but you have to still be safe. Fact is, RTMS provides for that. You must run, sir, Mr. Drivio, a risk route assessment. So if you know at certain places, at certain days, we must be alert, we must not forget about what's happening, then don't let your trucks be on the road, daytime of the night. Stop them, yeah. Maybe park them off at 8 o'clock, 9 o'clock at a safe truck stop. And maybe they can start driving 4 or 5 o'clock from a safe truck stop, if they have to. Remember, trucks move, so I'll think about trucks. Okay, right, next slide.
Companies are implementing it, by the way.
Yes.
Like Skynet Logistics. all
Yes,
these
many
big
are.
guys.
Many are. So that is just a short, brief overview of, and you can see it's dated. Because how many certified operators? Now more than 280. So a short version of what I wanted to share with you today is that it's all of our responsibility. We'll work nicely with you. So I've been to many of your programs that you run with the scholars, you know. They develop the whole safety campaign, they do the presentations, remember?
Road safety participatory
RTMC.
program.
Yeah. For the RTMC. Is Alicia still there one day? Okay. Oh, so she is online. Okay. Well, she can hear me online. Okay. Alright, sorry about that. Yeah. So what I wanted to share with you today was to talk about some things that you were saying, yes. And some things that you were saying were shown where. It's very exciting. And we want to help you to make sure that your traffic officials know exactly how to do it. At the side of the road, to check those trailers, to make sure that there's enough brakes, linings, to make sure that it ain't a gap, so it can brake effectively. But I think that the reality is that we have a common duty. Government is supportive, industry stepped up, taking the challenge. We make sure we promote road safety. Okay, now expanded that, which is actually our work for. It's one of the door openers. Don't go to the bank or anyone who says, okay, I want finance. Imagine if you go to them and say, listen, I know about this standard, I work for this company, I understand payload, I've done my costings, I know what fixed costs are, I know what variable costs are. Then you'll go to, oh, okay, this person knows. Do you want to buy a truck? It's not about the truck. When you buy a McD's to flip a burger, you want to buy a truck. You've got to have some industry knowledge, some experience, some research. Know what your fixed costs are. Don't just try and get a tender to move golf and you're running at $80 a ton. And you've got to do 20 kilometers and you're only going to be able to load one trip because of the congestion at the power station with the coal. Because you remember, to get to the coal station, you've got to weigh empty. You've got to go across the weigh bridge, then you've got to go low, then you've got to go to another weigh bridge, and you've got to load full, and you've got to put the top on, and then hopefully there's not a queue of 20 or 30,000 trucks ahead of you. Do your homework. From an industry point of view, this is a little bit of extra information, because you can see I work for the bank, I'm supposed to finance, obviously road safety is important, but those are the important things. But don't you want to buy a truck and a trailer, because you want that, it looks great, you see a wonderful truck and they're beautiful, trucks are beautiful. My favorite truck is a Scania R500. If I had a company truck, it'll be a Scania R500. But I won't want to get into Baker Street, to Rosebank, to Martha Street. It's not going to go underneath, maybe outside. That's going to happen. Short version is, if you want to be involved in this industry, know it, understand it, research it. I'm going to leave 6 words for you to think about. Read. Ask. That means you can read about the industry, ask lots of people, build your networks, understand the industry, know what fixed costs are. What are fixed costs? Give me 3 elements of fixed costs that I'll give it to you. It'll be your financing costs, it'll be your insurance costs, okay? It'll be your driver's costs, it'll be your permit costs, your F costs, license fee costs, all the fixed costs. You cannot run a truck-trailer combination if you are not at least maybe 350K a month. Do your numbers. Come here, do your numbers.
I'm just worried, do you ever breathe?
This is a magical industry. I hope you invite me for another one. Because I want to bring you lots of information. I've got free booklets. We've got an Artemis booklet. You go on the Fleetwatch website. There's an Artemis booklet. There's the A to Z of transport. There's operating benchmarks. There is the gym, your truck, your gym booklet. Oh my word, there's so much information. Read, ask. And then 3 more words, think.
Yes.
Thank you everybody. Thank you. Sorry, I didn't have to this, sorry.
Thank you.
We're going to show you how to check for a truck.
Okay. Thank you so much, Kathy. TIA for 6 years, and her key responsibilities are being the stakeholder management, and she is responsible also for managing all ARTO implementing stakeholders. So let's welcome Venda. Thank you.
Thank you.
This one. Okay.
Are you going to operate for me?
Yes, yes, of course.
I'm not going to move around a lot, like, but I prefer to, stand like this. Yeah, so, yes, my name is Venda Mamabulo. Oh, okay. My name is Venda Mamabulo. I'm from the Road Traffic Infringement Agency. And as Mariana said, I've come with a lot of experience from law enforcement. Myself and Cindy, we first met when we were in law enforcement. And yeah, it was a bit difficult for me to just capture the theme of being a woman in transport. So I think she struggled a lot. She tried to kick it out of me, but it was difficult. So myself and Cindy, when we were talking, she just said, maybe we must just talk about a lemon, As women, more especially coming from a law enforcement background, you are like a lemon. But remember, a lemon produces nice things. It might be sour, but if you want a nice figure, you are encouraged to drink lemon water, and then they say you can use it on your skin, and so on and so forth. So that's us women in transport. We are a bit bitter, but because we have to show force in this industry that is so male-dominated. So yes, that's me. So after all that has been said and done, Cindy's 21st century cadres, when they go out on the road, they do law enforcement, they need a proper support when they have done law enforcement. So that's where the implementation of ARTO comes in. As Mariana said, I'm responsible for ARTO implementation countrywide, and I've been to all the corners of South Africa. Where there is a traffic department, where there is a traffic cop, I've been there because I want them to implement ARTO. And that day is coming soon. The 1st of October, we will do the first few municipalities. 1st January, we go full force with ARTO. So yeah, without wasting time, okay. So I'm not gonna talk to each and every slide. I'm told that you will be able to have access to the material, so I've put a little bit more on the presentation so that when you read on your own, you will also gain some insight. So just can we just go to the next slide? So usually when I talk to people, I need to explain myself first to say, who is RTIA? So firstly, ARTO is adjudication of road traffic offences, administrative adjudication of road traffic offences, and it's an act number 46 of 1998. This act has been sitting on the shelf since 1998. It's 20 years later, 20-something years later. But I'm patting myself on my back to say I joined RTIA and I'm making sure that ARTO is implemented nationally. So the Act, Section 2 of the Act establishes this agency. So we assist the agencies with your RTMC, Sandra, RAF. So a lot of people think that I'm RTMS, I'm private entity. No. We are an entity of government, and we are mandated to oversee the full implementation of ARTO countrywide. Next slide. So this is just the layout of what the Act establishes, the agency, administrative adjudication of road traffic offences. So what this means is that we're going to decriminalize road traffic contraventions and deal with them administratively. So, and also establishment of point demerit system. We want to ensure that people's behaviors are changing. So if you know that your license is going to be demerited, you would rather comply. And then also in the Amendment Act, we are now introducing rehabilitation programs. So if you are identified as a habitual offender, you will have to go through rehabilitation programs, but of course it's after you've incurred demerit points, exceeded the threshold, and your license is suspended, and eventually get cancelled, then you will have to go through rehabilitation programs. And also, we are introducing an appeals tribunal, so if you want to complain, you want your notice to be cancelled, you must write down and say the first step is that you submit first at RTIA. We've got adjudicators say that they don't agree with your reasons, or when they investigate, they make your application unsuccessful. You can go to an appeals tribunal and they can hear your story, and they can also decide. Maybe they can come up with a different outcome from what the adjudicator has initially said. But it will still be an administrative process. You complete a form, you submit, and then you wait for the results. Our mission is to have a safer, safe road user community, and our mission is to encourage compliance with road traffic laws throughout the country. And we're going to do that through procedurally fair, reasonable, and lawful administrative process. Why we want to implement ARTO? Some of the challenges that we've identified within the fraternity is that, say you go, like myself, I travel across the country, so I get a fine in Cape Town. I come back to Johannesburg. I need to pay for that fine. The systems are not talking to each other. So with ARTO, we're bringing a central system that will make it easy for you to go and settle your infringement at the nearest issuing authority. You don't need to go back to Cape Town. You can just go to Johannesburg or to Tshwane to go and settle your fine. And then another thing is that, then we end up saying people are getting away with offenses and there is no consequences when they are coming from different jurisdictions. And there is also a challenge with the courts. The workload is too high, and we expect them to also attend to this long list of traffic cases. So one of the reasons we don't going to deal with this administratively is because we want to relieve the courts of the burden so that they can focus on the more serious ones where you're drunken driving, reckless driving, and so on and so forth. So those will still go to courts. But where a notice is written when you refuse to put on your own safety belt, then that process will be dealt with administratively. And as I've indicated, habitual offenders actually act with impunity, but that's why we are introducing rehabilitation programs. And I always give this example to say, if I have a lot of money, I own all the speeding cars, so if I have a lot of speeding infringements, I can easily go walk into an issuing authority and say, how much do I owe you? They say 10,000, I say bring the machine, I swipe. My attitude is not changing towards road safety. So the main reason is that we want to change the attitude towards road safety. I think that's my next slide. I'll just highlight a few that we want to encourage voluntary compliance. We want to also simplify adjudication of road traffic offences, and also establish an effective and expeditious process for dealing with road traffic offences, but also alleviate the balance from the courts, as I have indicated. Next slide. So these are some of the notices. This is just the notices that will be issued under ACTO. The naming conventions is just going to change. From section 56, you get a ACTO 1. So it's just the explanation of the notices that you will receive under ACTO. Next slide. So this is the process, how it will unfold once you receive an infringement notice. So with ACTO, within 96 days, you know that your notice has reached the ceiling. So within the first 32 days, you can qualify to pay a 50% discount. You can nominate a driver in a case where you have a fleet. Patrick works with fleet. So he can now nominate the person that was driving instead of, as the registered owner of the vehicle, taking the burden. So there's a form that you just complete, you submit, then the notice is removed from your name into the person that actually committed that offense. So, and then you can also complete a form called representation if you want to dispute the fine, but you state the reasons why. It must be valid reasons why you broke the law and you want the notice to be withdrawn. Or you can arrange to pay in installments, provided it's above 750. But if you choose this option of paying in installments, you then forfeit your 50% discount. And then with the current act, we still have election to be tried in court. So until the new act is proclaimed, you can still elect to be tried in court. But the disadvantage of you choosing this is that you are requesting to have a criminal record. Because once the court finds you guilty, it means that you must get a criminal record. So after the first 32 days, the RTIA will issue a courtesy letter, which is a friendly reminder to say, you committed this offense, please go and pay. The notice goes back to the original amount, but you can still do a representation, you can still elect to be tried in court, or you can pay in installments. After another 32 days, then we issue an enforcement order, which will now be blocking you on notice. So you'll not be able to transact until you have attended to your infringement notice. So at this stage, there's a form called ACTO 14. You put the reasons why the enforcement order must be revoked, or you just settle the notice. So yeah, this is some of the information that you'll just go through on your own. It's just the difference between ACTO and the criminal procedure. So it will actually assist you to get enlightened on the actual differences. And as I've said, under criminal procedure, a person does not have to, unless you're arrested and then you're found guilty and they say they're sentencing you. But with ACTO, we want to ensure that we change your behavior. That's why the introduction of rehabilitation programs. Next. This is just a sample of the charges in the National Road Traffic Act. We have got more than 2,000 contraventions that are recorded, but so they will be classified as infringements or offenses. So anything that is an infringement will be dealt with administratively. Anything that is an offense will be dealt with under criminal procedure process. The next slide. This is just a sample of the charge sheet. So this also is just a slide that's talking to operators to say that you can nominate a person that was driving, and if you give a person an unroadworthy vehicle, the system will generate a notice for the operator card, and this is how then the operator card will incur demerit points. So also the operator card will actually incur demerit points. And I think my next slide, Mariana. Oh, okay. So also this slide is just talking to access for your proxies. You can apply to have access to the system, so you will be receiving your notices electronically, and you can also exercise those elective options that I spoke about electronically, and you can also do your nominations of the driver electronically, and you can also pay in bulk for your notices. You just pay the bulk amount, you send us the spreadsheet, and then we just update for you.
Okay.
So this is just the process of nomination. The next 3 slides, just pass them. It's just for information. So, and also I've just outlined the appeals tribunal, that it will have a jurisdiction across the country. So there will not be a appeals tribunal for a specific province or for a specific area. So you submitted a central point, and then the information is sent to the appeals tribunal to be dealt with. So this slide is just talking to the promulgation processes that we are still undergoing. So we have now prepared a memo through the department that is going to be signed off by the president, so that he can give us a proclamation for the national rollout of ARTO. Next one. So these are the role players within the ARTO space. I'm not going to go through that. And these are the payment platforms that are available, so you can go and pay for your notices anywhere in the country. So in the next 3 slides, the next slide is just the explanation that I've already spoken about, to say we will be implementing ARTO in phases. So the first phase started from the 1st of July up to the end of September. We are busy with your public education, busy with the final preparations of the areas that must implement on the 1st of October. And also the second phase, we're now going to implement ARTO in all the provinces. And in each district, we've just taken one municipal area, but come January, that will be our third phase. All the municipal areas will then come on board. So the demerit points will only be implemented in July, once all the issuing authorities have come on board and have implemented ARTO. Then from the 1st of July 2022, we will be now implementing the demerit points. Thank you.
No, thank you. And our last speaker, Claire Bale is the first female driver to participate in the Super Drift series. After moving between circuit racing and drifting during the 2012 season, she is now focusing on a national drifting. Off circuit, Claire is a director of the Truckman in Boxburg and dealers in used trucks and trailers. She has taken on the Anlandic Cheetah Center, the Wild, as a personal cause, and is a past president of the MSA, Motorsport South African Women in Motorsport panel, and she has been nominated twice for the Colin Watling Award for service to motorsports. So let's welcome Claire. Please run us this clear. Yes, of course.
To change the slide?
Yes, just this and this, but I can change it for you. Would you like me to put the video?
Okay.
Yeah, okay. 6.
morning, everyone. I just thought I'd start out with an example of reckless driving, how not to when you're on the road. Thank you to TMI and Drivio for inviting me here today. It's incredibly inspiring to be here and listen to so many movers and shakers that are female in our industry. So it's very exciting, and I think we all feel that same excitement listening to people. And I'm really glad I don't have to follow Kathy today. That's a hard act to follow. Cars and driving have always been my passion. Although my parents were not at all interested in cars or motorsport or anything like that. When I was little, I used to spend all my pocket money on Matchbox cars and draw pictures of, very detailed pictures of cars with exhausts and racing stripes. And I think it was in my genes, because my great uncle, how do I get to the slide? My great uncle John Duff won the 1924 Hours of Le Mans in a Bentley. So I think it missed a generation or two, and somehow I got all that passion for motorsport and cars. Okay, thanks. He's a tall guy at the end. And he was always a huge inspiration to me. He not only won Le Mans, he raced in the Indy 500, held lots of speed records at Brooklands in the UK, and he was in fact recently inducted into the Canadian Motorsport Hall of Fame. So yeah, he's always been a big inspiration to me, and he was quite a character. Although I never actually raced, my cars and trucks and so on have always been a huge part of my life. I started out working for BMW in the new car division, and actually met my husband Don when I sold him a car. So cars in general have always had quite a big impact on my life. Don was a director of MA in truck and bus when I met him, and he was also involved in off-road racing. And between the two of us, we've just been involved in the heavy truck industry ever since. We had a new truck franchise we had two new truck franchises in Cape Town. We had an MA and a Freightliner dealership. And our current used truck business we've had here in Boksburg, the truck van, we've had that since '98. A little bit of advertising. Okay. Racing was always a distant dream for me until about 2003. And then I went out to Kyalami and I did a BMW advanced driving course. My instructor for the day was Basil Mann, who's a multiple SA Motorsport champion. And I think he does a lot of driver training and so on too. In fact, he's quite a well-known guy in our industry generally. And he was fantastic. We had an M3 for the day, and he showed me all the lines, he showed me all the tricks. We went really fast. He encouraged me, told me not to drive like Miss Daisy. And we were the fastest car there on the day by a country mile, and it was wonderful. So at the end of the day, I sat in the car with him for a moment and I said to him, well, do you think I could ever become a racing driver? And he thought about it for a moment and he said, well, it would take a lot of practice. So I think that was quite a wonderful comment from him, because I was in fact 42 at the time and I'd never driven a race car in my life before. So it would have been very easy for him just to laugh at me and or say to me very kindly, well, I actually think you're too old. So Don's never spoken to him since. And I went home and I said to John, well, actually I'd like to try racing. And it took a lot of persuasion, probably you could say a lot of nagging as well, but eventually he caved in and he said, okay, cool, we'll look for a suitable car. I started out in a Shelby Can-Am, a sports car. At the time they were the fastest sports cars in the country, and it was a national series. And so it was quite a huge challenge for a novice driver, novice racer, and I had to learn a lot, and I had to learn very quickly. So it worked out quite well for me, but it's not the route I would recommend, when you start out in racing, in motorsport. Excuse me. In 2007, I moved on to the West Bank V8. I had a Ford Mustang, and that was quite a huge step at the time, because there'd never been a female driver in West Banks. And at first it was the most macho, hairy-chested national series that we've ever had, because they were the fastest saloon cars, big V8s, loud, noisy. And at first the guys were really quite taken aback to find a female driver on the grid. But once they realised I wasn't going to be a moving chicane, they accepted me. And it was wonderful because I earned their respect, and we've become very good friends. A lot of them are still our best friends, and in fact we call on them for advice with setup and technical issues quite often. So that was quite a fabulous experience, and I was lucky because I raced there at the same time as people like Willie Hepburn, Henny Groenewald, Franco Di Matteo, so really some quite legendary drivers, and they were very good because they shared a lot of their knowledge and advice with me as well. In 2012, we saw the sport of drifting for the first time, and that made quite an impact on us because a lot of the big sponsors of the big national series circuses had stepped away, like Westbank and Vodacom, and drifting at the time was quite low-key in this country, but we realised it was a sport with a future. But it's a really extreme sport that had its roots in Japan, when young people started to take their powerful cars up the mountains, in the mountain passes, and the aim was to drive sideways all the time instead of straight. And from those illegal street racing routes, it's grown into a global extreme sport with very large international series in the UK, the US, Europe and Asia. And we thought it was an opportunity for our sponsors as well, because it's very different to normal racing. Everything happens in a small arena. All the action is instant and takes place at once, and it's a bit like racing for the PlayStation generation. So we decided it's also very different to normal motorsport, because in normal racing you want to go straight. If you go sideways, it's slower. And of course, with drifting now, the objective is to always go sideways. And it's also different because it's a judge sport. So you're judged on factors such as your degree of angle. The more angle you have, the better you get, the higher your marks will be. And your accuracy when there are markers on the track they're called clipping points, and you have to get really close without actually clipping them. And also you get points for style, lots of smoke, tire smoke, noise, flare. So it's really different to normal motorsport in that regard. So we decided to build ourselves a Mustang drift car. We found a Ford Mustang road car, which was a V6 with an automatic gearbox. And we threw all of that out and we put in a Westbank Ford racing motor, V8, and a Jericho gearbox from a Westbank race car. So basically we built a race car, and all the car wanted to do was actually go straight. So it wasn't made any easier because I, at the time, had no idea how to drive a drift car either. So it was very humbling because I had a lot of pressures. We had to redesign the car on numerous occasions to try and make it work. And I was very tempted many times to just, give it all up and go straight back to circuit racing, where basically I knew what I was doing. But we persevered, and eventually, as you can see, the car, it actually turned out rather well. And we've had a lot of good seasons in the Mustang in our local drifting events. The other thing with drifting, you have proximity is another factor that you're judged on. When there are two cars in tandem, you obviously have to be as close to each other as possible. As you can see. Sorry, I'm not very good at speeches, I still need notes. Are you with me? Okay. And I will get onto transport and trucks eventually, I promise. Okay, I've learned a lot from motorsport. Sorry, where am I? Okay. Of course, with COVID at the moment, and from the main lockdown last year, a lot of motorsports events have been put on hold, including most of the drifting events. I'm quite fortunate, though, that I have also got the opportunity to race in a backdraft Cobra, which we race in the SA Endurance Series. We do a lot of endurance races all around the country at different circuits, and the season culminates with a 9-hour in Cape Town. So that's enormous fun, and I'm looking forward to that. And then I also have a Subaru, a little BRZ, and that we do hill climb and Impala type events with that car. We just did the Simola Hill climbing in Leisner this past weekend. So I'm very fortunate I'm still able to do some racing, although motorsport in general is very low key at the moment, partly because there are no spectators allowed. I remember an enormous amount from motorsport, and there are quite a lot of analogies between motorsport and the industry that we are in. Motorsport is absolutely a team sport. I can be the best driver in the world, but if my team don't give me a car that can work on a certain day at a certain track, I'm not going to be able to win the event. Equally, it's my job to give them the feedback that they need in order to put together and set up the car that it can actually work for me. And it's very much the same in our business, because our goal as a used truck company is to develop long-term relationships with our customers. And the only way we can do that is if we work with our staff as a team, from the wash bay right through the workshop, right through to delivery and sales. We have to analyze the customer's needs, understand what he actually needs, and the right truck will be for the job. And then we obviously have to produce a truck that's going to be reliable and serve the purpose for which it was designed. And when we, at the time that we work here on all our vehicles, we have to actually have the same attention to detail, if not more, than we would have on a race car. In racing as well, we can have the best car on the day, but we can go into the very first corner of the first event, the first race, and another driver can take us out, and that can be the end of our day. In the same, racing really is all about crash, fix, and repeat, and that's what we pretty much do all the time. And it's the same in business many times. You know, you can, especially as a female, you can focus on doing something and absolutely put your heart and soul into it. You get knocked down, and the only thing you can actually do is get back up, get out there, and persevere and carry on. You can never give up. It's the same with motorsport. A lot of people ask me what it's like to be a female racing driver in a male-dominated motorsport world. And as you can see in this pic, if you look really carefully, you might find me the only female there, and that's pretty much what it's like. But really, it's not very different to it's the same for us, many of us females in the automotive world, because we have to work harder, we have to know more, we have to be more passionate, more dedicated, more committed, and we have to prove ourselves over and over and over again in order to earn respect. And so again, I think there's very little difference between motorsport and the automotive industry, whether it be cars or trucks or transport or sales. Mm-hmm. In fact, one of the last things that we do have in motorsport is that it's one of the very few sports where male and female competitors compete on an equal playing field. And it's actually very satisfying to know that once you got your helmet on, you're just another competitor on the track, no quarter given or taken. And it's also very much the same, I find, in our business, because often we've got a huge variety of customers. And quite a lot of customers, if the first time I interact with them, they look at me and they think, okay, no, obviously she knows nothing about trucks. And you know, people, it's our society. We judge women on appearance and age and looks, and you know, we sort of have preconceptions as to what a woman should know or not know something about. And it's quite difficult in the beginning, but if you just, once they understand that you actually do know what you are talking about, then it's quite easy. You can move on and you can go beyond the stereotypes, and he stops looking at you and thinking as you know, what does this chick know? And then after that, you have a fantastic relationship with the guy, because then he trusts you and you trust him, and we understand each other. So it can be done. We don't actually have to limit ourselves in any way because of gender or age. And for example, now, I'm 59 now, and I feel like I've got so much to look forward to still. I'm at the top of my racing game. I love what I do. Business is a challenge, but it's a very rewarding challenge. So I think a lot of our limitations are self-imposed in some ways. And I think if we can perhaps look beyond those and allow ourselves, we can actually achieve a lot more. Basil Mann taught me a wonderful lesson back in the BMW at Kyalami. He realized that although I lacked experience, I had some talent. And by encouraging me, he presented me with an opportunity. Now, I don't think that people have to rely on talent. I think opportunity is far more important in talent, in business, in basically anything in life. A big thing in motorsport is, talent's quite a big word, because if somebody makes a mistake or crashes out or something like that, a lot of people say, oh, he or she ran out of talent. But really, opportunity is far more important than talent, because if you think about our country, we have so much talent out there, and what people lack is an opportunity. And that is actually where we need to focus, because the talent is there in the youth that we have out there. There is so much potential. And what we really need to work on to create opportunities in our industry for people to grow into. Especially women, even more so. Real change always comes from within. And successful women in the transport industry need to lead by example and look out for opportunities not only for themselves but also for other women to progress. In the corporate environment, it's still quite difficult for women to progress because they still have to work harder, do more, prove themselves more in order to progress. And I think we need to work to try and eliminate those sort of boundaries, because the potential is there, and once a woman is given an opportunity, then she usually outshines many of the men in any case. But it's that initial opportunity that is so critical. Just for example, with drivers, a lot of the companies are starting to employ more female drivers, simply because they find that they're more reliable, more safety conscious, more dedicated. And it's up to us to also try and eliminate some of the challenges that female drivers, truck drivers in particular, experience now, because although they can operate safely within some urban areas, it's a lot more difficult for them to do national and obviously cross-border travel because of the safety issues involved. It's extremely difficult for a woman to be safe at the moment in transport as a driver. One of the things that I am particularly trying to work on is to encourage more young girls and women to step into our automotive and transport industries. Nowadays, you don't need brain, you need muscle to work on a car or a truck. It's more brain than muscle. And the sort of thing I'd really like to see is that we have in our transport, in our used truck industry, certainly a dire shortage of good auto electricians in the trucking area. And there's absolutely no reason why, when I phone the auto electrician, the person who comes out on a call out with a laptop shouldn't be a woman. We're absolutely capable of it, but I think a lot of young girls and young women, especially school leavers, don't even consider stepping into a technical area like that. And I think that's an attitude we need to change, because I think there's great potential for young people to have good careers and also become entrepreneurs in that area, if we can just persuade more girls to open their minds to something besides the traditional female roles. Motorsport has given me a great platform from which to work, not only in areas such as supporting the Cheetah Centre, as Mariana mentioned, but hopefully, especially as COVID begins to, the restrictions become a little bit eased, then maybe I will be able to put a little bit more time and effort into addressing schools and working towards getting more young women to consider our industry. Thanks for sharing your time with me, and I hope you've all enjoyed this morning as much as I have. Thank you.